There is a question that American economists and political analysts are still debating to this day. Has Trump made the US economy stronger, or has he made it more volatile than ever before? For some people, he is a figure who generated growth, with the stock market repeatedly breaking records and an America-first economy. For others, he is the cause of global trade tensions, market instability, and deeper economic and social divisions. But where does the truth lie? To answer that, we cannot simply look at one GDP figure. We must examine the entire system: markets, trade, employment, public debt, international conflicts, and even economic psychology. And to understand this, we need to start from how the US economy operated before these changes took place. And the following content has been compiled and collected from many different sources on the internet. So if there is any incorrect information, please comment below so we can discuss it together. Let's begin. Before analyzing the impact, one thing must be understood. The US economy is a massive system, not dependent on a single individual. It is driven by the Federal Reserve, Fed, global markets, technology corporations, international capital flows. During the previous period, the US economy was in a state of stable growth, long-term stock market increases, gradually declining unemployment. And in that context, few expected politics to have such a deep impact on markets as it did later. But everything began to change when Donald Trump entered high-level politics. One of the biggest changes was the America First policy. From there, trade tensions began to escalate, especially with China. The United States imposed tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars of Chinese goods, and China responded with similar measures. This was not just a simple trade dispute. Many economists viewed it as a structural conflict between the world's two largest economies. Global supply chains gradually became fragmented, and multinational companies had to shift production to other countries such as Vietnam, Mexico, or India. Alongside trade, geopolitical tensions also increased. During this period, global markets were affected by US-China tensions not only in trade, but also in technology, semiconductors, Huawei, 5G, instability in the Middle East affecting global oil prices, NATO and relations with Europe facing disputes over defense spending, tensions with Russia on multiple international security issues. These factors did not directly cause the US economy to collapse, but they created an environment of higher geopolitical risk and lower predictability, and that began to be reflected in financial markets. This was most clearly reflected in the US stock market. During this period, the market sometimes rose strongly, but it became extremely sensitive to trade news, diplomatic tensions, political statements. For example, a single update on US-China negotiations could move the market hundreds of points. Oil prices reacted directly to Middle East tensions. Technology stocks fluctuated due to trade restrictions. The market was no longer reacting only to economics, but to real-time geopolitics. At the same time, the US labor market also experienced notable changes. Unemployment fell to pre-pandemic lows, and some domestic industries recovered. But at the same time, trade conflicts created counterpressure. US farmers were affected by retaliatory tariffs. Export-oriented companies lost markets. Supply chains were restructured. This meant the domestic economy was both supported and pressured from outside at the same time. Another factor that cannot be ignored is public debt. During this period, US national debt increased, partly due to tax cuts and government spending. Some economists argue that this created short-term growth, but added long-term pressure. And another major factor that heavily impacted the US economy up to the present day is COVID-19. During the COVID-19 years, the US economy fell into the fastest recession in modern history, leaving severe consequences and a lasting shock from broken global supply chains. COVID-19 also exposed how interconnected global economies had become, a dependency already strained by prior trade wars. Massive stimulus packages were launched, financial markets recovered strongly, but the structure of the global economy changed permanently. After all these fluctuations, the question returns: how did Donald Trump actually impact the US economy? There may be no single definitive answer, but we can observe three major changes during his time in office. Growth was real, but not linear. It was interrupted by trade conflicts, geopolitical tensions, and the pandemic. Markets became more volatile than before. because they had to react to both politics and geopolitics. The global economy became more fragmented, with trade, technology, and supply chains no longer as seamless as before. So the question is no longer, did Trump make America stronger or weaker? But rather, did he push the US economy into a new era where politics, trade, and geopolitics can no longer be separated? And in that era, the market is no longer just a reflection of the economy, but also a reflection of a world that is changing every single day.